Obama has surrounded himself almost exclusively with Clinton-era advisors who created this wrong-headed policy and brought us where we are today. Beginning, of course, with Mrs. Clinton, the Secretary of State, but not ending with her. Are these people of a nature to say, gee, we made a mistake, now we know we do the right thing? If they are, they never do it publicly. Maybe to their priests and rabbis, I don't know. Second, neither President Obama nor his advisors, nor the major media that condition their political thinking have ever, so far as I know, said one word to suggest that the United States bears any responsibility for the lost opportunity to end the Cold War 20 years ago. They continue to blame only Russia. And the implications of that are Russia must make the concessions, not us. We're innocent. Indeed, before, during, and since his so-called summit meeting with Russian President Medvedev in Moscow this month, Obama has reiterated his support for this triumphalist policy, repeatedly, for continuing the military encirclement of Russia, with NATO now taking in Georgia and Ukraine and supplementing it with missile defense, because the two go together, for continuing to encroach upon Russia's historical sources of energy by last week signing documents to build yet another pipeline, for which there is no energy, by the way, in an attempt to bypass Russia with Caspian energy, for continuing to interfere in Moscow's internal politics by trying to promote Medvedev over Putin, as Obama very clumlessly did before he went to Moscow and again when he got there, and by lecturing Russians once again on the do's and don'ts of being a great power, as Obama did at a kind of think tank school of shock therapists in Russia when he was there. For 40 years, I have wished that my native country and the country in which I seem to spend half my life, Russia, would one day develop a post-Cold War partnership. So I still hope it dies last. Thinking historically, though, it depends on one possibility, that President Obama will turn out to be the policy heretic in his own house. That he will break with these people around him. Now you say, well, what's the likelihood? What's the chances? Well, it happened before, 20 years ago, when both Gorbachev and Reagan broke with their horribly orthodox advisors, and by doing so came that close to ending the Cold War. I don't see any reason why we should ask any less of President Obama. Thank you. You haven't read it. All right, go on. Pull that up.
I heard you interviewed on the radio recently, and some woman called in and asked about one of these advisors.
Who's you?
Pardon?
Who's you?
Sorry. Who am I?
No. Who's? You said I heard you on the radio. Who's you?
You.
Oh.
I'm talking to you.
I'm sorry. I listen to my wife on the radio all the time, so I get a little confused. And she just told me, by the way, that she liked Obama's speech in Moscow. That's what I have to put up with every day.
Well, a lady called you in on the radio, and she asked about a former advisor of Clinton, who I think is now in the Obama administration. His name was something like Michael Infals or something. And I wonder if you can talk about those advisors that he's surrounded by. What is their problem? Is it ignorance? Is it arrogance? Or is there just another agenda that they're pursuing?
I don't know why the Clinton administration made the decision it made back in the 90s when Russia was available for a real partnership. So it begins there, and it's something American, I guess. We are a triumphalist thinking nation, aren't we? I mean, we like to write our narrative. We're a can-do, must-succeed nation. It was, for that generation, the Clinton people, a way of recapturing what Brokaw called that greatest generation triumphalism of World War II, my father's generation. It was a lack of wisdom. It was Cold War thinking carried on. But whatever the case, you now have, in addition to Mrs. Clinton, you have General Jones, who's the National Security Advisor, who was commander of NATO in the 90s and presided over the first wave of expansion. He's a real gung-ho, let's expand NATO. You have Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, who was in the Clinton administration. Even Vice President Biden has long been associated, and by the way, he's in either Ukraine or Georgia tonight. I mean, why? What is he doing there? But not a good idea. But he too was an advocate of this. We won the Cold War, let's go on. Then there are younger proponents of this view, and that includes the professor that you're talking about, the academic Michael McFaul of Stanford University. He has long been a democracy promoter in the sense that he believes that winning the Cold War gave the United States the right to intervene very deeply in Russia and help Democrats, when he can find them, build democracy against the Kremlin in Russia. It expressed itself in what some people would later call the colored revolutions in Ukraine and Georgia, where regimes were toppled by crowds in the street with some support from the United States. It's not exactly clear how much support, and were henceforward called democratic. That's all I really know of the story. It's just unwise. And the pity of it is that during the last Cold War, there were two points of view in the American press, the media, the people who thought that the Cold War should be even colder. We should build more weapons. And people who were known to advocate détente. We should do something to ease the Cold War. Today, there's basically only one hand clapping. The people in the Clinton administration. There's no real opposition to this policy at all. 3 or 4 people. One sitting here, aging quickly, and the other 3 are even older. So it's not a movement.
Doctor, I'm just back from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Dubai, and I believe the Nabucco pipeline, Iraq committed to supply 50% of the gas by the time the pipeline's finished, the rest made up by Azerbaijan. The question I had for you is, President Obama said that he listened for 3 hours to President Putin. I just wanted to ask what did Putin say to him? What does Russia expect from the United States? It's 160 million and dropping. It's a huge empty waste. It has problems with China and the Muslim population. How significant is Russia truly to United States interests?
Well, you've asked 2 conflicting questions. I can't see you. Where are you? Oh, good. I mean, there's 2 conflicting questions. One is we should try to understand what they want from us. That was about your Putin-Obama thing. The other is they're down and out, and why shouldn't we just kick them more? Which interests you?
It's not a question of kicking them more. It's just
how vital are they to you?
the question I had is, with your contacts, what did Putin and Medvedev, that tag team of good cop and bad cop, what concrete things did you hear that they would like to have from the United States? I mean, having that base, we have 2 bases now in Russia. I mean, it's incredible. Mm-hmm. And that is not
I don't know of any American bases in Russia.
Well, we have the one was it Kyrgyzstan, and they gave us rights to use our forces through Afghanistan.
That's not part of Russia. That was part of the Soviet Union.
Former Soviet Union. But
all right, but I take your question.
Right.
They want to be treated as a great power with interests equal to ours, and therefore a full say in policies that affect their immediate interests. In particular, they don't want any military bases on their borders, American military bases, nor would we want Russian bases in Canada, Mexico. Well, I mean, we've been berserk for years about Cuba. What did they say to each other? I don't know what they said, but we do know now through the Germans, who are livid about this, one thing that was said.